In this video, I introduce and decipher Playertron's mystical passenger oscillator, one of the most arcane oscillator modules which Cherry Audio's Voltage Modular has to offer. But it's not only explanations and demonstrations you can be looking forward to, be also prepared for some spooky patch examples. Let me quote the manual. Waveforms are generated on the fly according to the dynamic relationship between a generator and a passenger and a host of interesting exchanges between them, which are set via the suite of dials. It's one of those modules where you needn't understand the controls, just twirl away to discover exciting sounds, interconnectivities, and sure that each twist can reveal something new, mystical. So, let's try to uncover some of the module's secrets. Let me start with rather simple things. The 1 volt per octave input jack doesn't need any further explanation, nor does the octave switch. The tuning knob has a range of 2 semitones, so not a fixed frequency range, but the range of semitones. Please watch the picture here. So now in the middle position we have C going down 1 semitone, B up 1 semitone, C sharp. And this is exactly the range, the maximum range we can get when we use this FM input jack here. Let me do so. And I have to use this little tiny attenuator knob here. All right. And this limited modulation range makes this function generate only a whiff of those typical FM sounds. Let me switch to higher, the modulator to higher frequencies, to audible frequencies. And I think this frequency modulation functionality seems to be meant mainly for generating tremolos, though. By the way, do you have a YouTube channel of your own, or are you kind of active on social media? Well, then I have a special offer for you later in this video. But now let's continue talking about Playertron's module here. The upper of the 2 smaller knobs here regulates the volume of the module. And because there is a CV input jack attached, we can get nice amplitude modulation effects. Let me do so. And when we modulate the modulating frequency, let me do this as well. And let the Playertron module play a tune. And both CV sources, here both sequences are running at different rates. We can get nice polyphonic sequences. Alright, the gain knob below the volume potentiometer adds drive to the whole sound. Let me at first remove the modulations. And can lead to nicely moderate distortions. A moderate distortion, also a nice, a nice term. And modulating the gain at audio rates, let me do this as well. Leads also to quite useful timbres. Applying an envelope to the volume and to the gate leads to, well, also really interesting sonic experiences. So let me do so. Let me at first and you see and hear mainly the differences. We get brighter, more distorted sounds when we modulate the gain knob, because let me put the gain down to 0. And now when I leave alone this patch cable, please watch carefully what the gain knob does, the potentiometer. You see it jumps to middle position, so the modulation takes place from middle position upwards. Even clearer when I change the direction of the modulation. So the offset position is always the middle position, even if I start with the attachment of 0 gain. We've been working only with the left half of the module so far here, the left half called the generator. I've silenced the right side here, the passenger, by turning the balance knob to 0 here, the balance knob, turning it up. And now I've silenced the passenger. I'll leave it for a while there to learn more about the generator. When I turn this big generator knob, I see, or we see, that there are 5 different generators in the module. The first one producing a kind of sine or sinusoid wave. The next one, generator 2, producing a triangle. Produces generator 3 producing an up ramp, and generator 4 producing a down ramp, and generator 5 producing peaks. Okay, it's a pulse generator, pulse and square generator, as I will show you in a minute. All waves are, or none of the waves is, let's say, synthetically clean, which is musically nice. There are 4 beautiful golden potentiometers below the generator knob here. The upper 2 don't seem to do anything. When I turn the second one, the one labeled pH, we do so to the maximum, I get at least a little bit of sonic dirt, but otherwise nothing happens when I turn these potentiometers. Perhaps you may start guessing what they do indeed, what their functionality is, when I tell you the full names. So PE stands for period and PH here stands for phase. Alright, later more about this functionality. Knobs 3 and 4 are more, let's say, communicative concerning their functionality. The CU means curve. And it adds more of a sine wave-like oscillation to the sound, which is best seen with generator types 2 to 5. Let's change to saw or up ramp, and now changing the CU, the curve potentiometer. You see it adds this sine wave-like oscillation to the sound. And PL stands for pulse. Need to see what happens with pulse. And change back to sine wave like generator 1. And you see some peaks occur in the sound. Let me go back to curve and let's use generator 1. When I add the curve amount, you see only the edges get sharper. It's a kind of slight distortion. Well, sure, if we add a sine oscillation to another sine oscillation of the same frequency and phase, we simply increase the amplitude or the energy which is put into the wave, which is not completely the same as amplitude. Alright then, the pulse knob adds more of a square wave or pulse wave-like oscillation to the sound. Now you see that the square wave wants to enter the door. Okay, and with the generator number 5, we get nearly perfect square waves. Let me try to exactly adjust the duty cycle of 50%, so a typical square wave. And now please notice where the up jump, the jump from low level to high level is. It's about 1 point right to the 0.02 mark. And now I switch to another oscillator. Perhaps this one. This is at the same point here. This peak is at the same point, so we can nicely see that the little peaks in the shapes which are delivered by generators 1 to 4 are at the same phase angle where the square wave of generator 5 has its jump from low level to high level. And with that said and demonstrated, the simple and easy part ends, and we have to take a deep dive and start into the mysteries of the module. We cannot silence the generator and listen to only the passenger. Even if the balance knob is at 100%, the generator's adjustments still influence the resulting sound. So let me use the passenger to learn more about the generator. At first, I adjust the balance to 50% and mess around with the generator's period and phase knobs. Most of you will think they know what phase and period means, so let me combine the Playertron's module together with another oscillator and tweak the parameters phase and period. So at first I take this sine wave here, mix it through the Playertron. It's not completely the same frequency, but it shall be okay. Now I change the period. Nothing. Okay, then the phase. Again, nothing happens. Okay, then let's forget about other oscillators and activate the passenger by setting the balance to 50%. I remove all these modules which I don't need anymore. And set the balance to 50%. And now I change period. And phase. So we see that period and phase set the relation of the waves generated by the passenger and the generator, but doesn't take care of, let's say, foreign policies to other oscillators. Let me tweak the phase again, and we see nicely how the phases shift. So what about the period parameter then, really? When I increase the period parameter, but let me set at first the balance to 50%. So when I increase the period parameter now, I get something that looks like, well, let's say like frequency modulation combined with amplitude modulation, with the generator's wave as the carrier and the passenger signal as the modulator. The zero crossings here, please look for example at this one, exactly at 0.02. The zero crossings are the same as with the unmodulated wave, so here. You see, here is the zero crossing of the unmodulated, more or less unmodulated. I've set the balance to 50%, not to zero. The zero crossing of the wave of the generator, but let me go up again. Let me compare with a common kind of amplitude modulation. So I put it down, set this to 0, and I patch the sine wave of this 1004p oscillator into the volume modulation. Different frequencies, modulating frequencies. Look also at the spectrum. Okay, what we get is different, of course it is, but the spectra are quite similar. So let me go up again a bit. So, and now let's compare with the period functionality. Look at the spectrum. Even the sound is not completely different. So let me increase the period parameter very slowly now. At first, the edge in the shape here, this edge here, and here, and here, the edge in the shape develops into a sinuous wave of its own, and the second partial in the spectrum gets stronger. Here, look at this second partial. Then a third wave occurs. The next wave occurs here. And the third partial gains amplitude. And so far, the shape resembles also a little bit the result of a Hardsync setup. The same happens with the next higher grade partials, and the shape gets more and more, let's say, crowded. We see what really happens when I switch the passenger to pulse wave. Ha! You see? You got it. Okay, we can see now even clearer than before that the period parameter indeed does not change the period of the generator. It stays constant. Let me change the duty cycle a bit and we come to shapes and sounds and spectra. Similar to what we had before, but once again here, isn't it nicely to be seen what really happens between passenger and generator when we tweak the period parameter. So far the left side of the module, the generator's side, but what about the passenger? Do the 5 passengers generate the same 5 wave shapes as the 5 generators? And how shall we find out if we cannot silence the generator and listen only to the passenger? But at first, I think we deserve a bit of nice sound demos after all of these serious investigations. Before I continue, please have a look at this. It's my new online course, Production Secrets of Generative Music with Modular Synths, and it's useful not only for making generative music. You can get it from my website. The link is down in the description. Thank you for visiting it. Back to a bit of serious work now. Okay, we can't silence the generator, but nevertheless we can see the waves generated by the passenger as well, and the period parameter helps us. We saw that the zero crossings and the overall shape of the resulting waves, when I have the balance parameter set up to, for example, 50%, and the period at quite high amount, then that the outline shows the period of the generator's wave, and therefore the faster oscillations which overlay the generator's wave must be generated by the passenger, is faster here. And when we switch through the 5 different passengers, let me do so, we see indeed, we change the pulse of the passenger, even back to only peaks. So we see that their wave shapes resemble those of the generators as we have seen them. If not to say both groups of actors deliver the same waves. There's only one obvious difference. Passengers 3 and 4 bring both kinds of ramps. Let me go to passenger 3. Perhaps, okay. Both kinds of ramps, up ramps and down ramps. both in one wave, only in different order. So here we have at the down wave, followed by the up wave in the next period, and it's even a little bit steeper. But now I go to passenger number 4, and then it's the other way around. Let me switch to and fro. You see what I mean? Okay, so we have all 5 waves which we have seen with the generator, also with the passenger here. To demonstrate and understand the feed-forward parameter, I use the period parameter again. Balance is again at 50%, and the passenger is switched to passenger 5 with extremely short peaks, extremely short duty cycles. And well, let me tweak the fast forward parameter now, very slowly. And here you see nicely what happens. The cycle is shifted, the phase shift is 180 degrees. Here. Okay, and with extremely long duty cycles, the pulse knob adjusted to about 94, 96. Let me do so. 94, 96, 94, 94. Okay, 95. It's the same, the wave is shifted forward. Let me do so. Alright, you see the same principle. And with that said, I've shown and explained the passenger's pulse parameter as well. But when we turn the pulse knob even further to the right, let's say to 1, completely to the right, we see that the passenger deforms the generator's wave into the direction of a square wave. The curve parameter here works as it does with the generator. Alright. Okay. Time for some more sounds. It's great and wonderful that you like my work, my ebooks, my videos, my production. Alright then, come and earn some money together with me. Simply join my affiliate program. It's really easy, it's simple, it's without any obligations, and it might be even fun for you.
Read the details on my website and start earning money, and not even a little only. Just click the link down in the description to learn more about it. I'm looking forward to meeting you there. Cheers and peace.
There are little black potentiometers next to the golden ones here. You might not have seen them at once, but these potentiometers are not at all attenuators for the modulating CV. So let me put some modulating CV in. Yeah. All right. So what these little black knobs do is they set the DC offset for the modulation. So when I, for example, turn this little black knob completely to the left, so the modulation starts at 0 and goes up to, well, to where the modulating CD goes. And when I put it the other way around, completely to the right, the modulation starts at maximum and goes down to, well, to what the modulating CV goes. And in the middle, it's, of course, you would have guessed it, it's in the middle, meaning going down and up and down, and the amount of modulation depends simply on the amount of CV, of voltage I feed into the jack. So I can, for example, I could patch an attenuator between the modulating module and Playertron if I wanted to attach a certain modulation amount. The reset input jack here, which mimics the letter O in the name Playertron, lets us sync the module's waves. So let me patch in a synchronizing wave. Okay. There are two kinds of sync, which here are called Hardsync and Softsync. One method resets the phase of the wave to 0 degrees, back to the beginning, and at each incoming positive CV signal, and the other flips the wave around, and I switch between these two methods by pushing this nice green little type button. Let me do so. So this is the reset, back to the beginning. And this is the flipping of the wave. Let me try to make it look a little bit more stable. Yeah, okay, now you can see it. It's flipping back the waves, opposed to resetting it. All right, let's do the sync. No matter whether you are interested in making generative music or you want to professionally apply granular techniques to your productions, or you are eager to learn about new concepts for music and sound, or you are dedicated, you are a really dedicated modular or semi-modular synth guy, or in case you are watching this video later than August 2024, you want to know everything, and I mean everything, about vintage synths and their remakes and software. No matter what of these is valid for you, you will find what you are looking for on my website. I'm looking forward to meeting you there. Cheers and peace. There's another little switch above the sync switch, and the manual and the tooltips say reverse circuit block order. But what does this mean? Do generator and passenger simply change places? And what about the balance knob? Can I eventually silence the generator now, but not the passenger? And the probably most important question is, what of all the things we have discovered, we have found out so far, are still valid when I switch to this reverse circuit block order? Well, let me try to find out. Let's do a simple experiment. The generator here is switched to generator 1, the sinusoid wave. The passenger is switched to passenger 5, these needle-sharp pulses I have adjusted here at pulse. And the balance is at 50%. Now I switch the circuit order, so, and freeze the upper, something like that, freeze the upper signal analyzer here. Now I change the generator to generator 5 and the passenger to passenger 1 and switch back to default circuit order. Let me freeze it in this one. And we see, voila, very much the same shape as before. So, opposite situations, passenger and generator, and switching to the opposite side. So far it seems that switching between these two different circuit orders, the default one and the reversed one, means simply that generator and passenger change places, it seems. But let's not be over hasty. I've compared some more constellations and their reversal partners, and these are the gained graphs. Well then, let me try to explain each of these graphs using my theory of generator and passenger changing places. All right. The graphs 2.1b, 2.1b, this one, and 2.2a, this one, the opposite partners, seem to confirm my theory perfectly. The B graphs, the blue ones here at 1.2, 2.2 and 3.2, well, they seem to oppose the theory that switching circuit order simply means switching generator and passenger. Hey, but actually they confirm it. Because we must not forget that we cannot silence the generator, and therefore the graphs at 1.2b, the graph at 1.2b, this one here, is nothing else than the graph at 1.1a plus the generator's influence, the peaks and situation 1.2. What formerly in situation 1.1 was the passenger is now in situation 1.2, the generator, which cannot be silenced. You may ask yourself two questions now. Question number one, why is the result in situation 1.1b, this here, switched order, not the same as in situation 1.2a, this one, default order? The answer is simple again, because in 1.2 2, the influence of the sinusoid passenger is 0. We can silence the passenger, as you might remember. Question number 2. Why don't we get peaks in situation 1.1b, where, according to my theory, the generator generates these peaks and the sinusoid passenger is silenced? I could not get my head around that for quite a while, but then I analyzed all the graphs more detailed and compared not only the shapes but also the spectra, which I don't want to do here because it's kind of cumbersome and perhaps boring, the spectra which belongs to these graphs, and I discovered that the generator, even when switched to the passenger function, is not completely silenced. Or in other words, the mechanism, and that's now is important, I think, the mechanism of influencing is not the same in both directions, switched or default. Passenger influencing generator and switched generator influencing switched passenger work a bit differently. I think, at least. Wow, a lot of theory. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And even if I'm wrong, indeed, these analyses led me to a deeper understanding of the module and, most important, a quite good notion of how I have to adjust the knobs and switches to get a certain wanted sound. So, which of the functions here on the front panel work differently when I switch the circuit order? Work differently in switched circuit order. To find out, I switch both passengers, both generator and passenger, to sinusoid waveforms. Period and phase, you will remember here and here, didn't have any effect without changing the balance knob so far. But when I switch here, then they do have, indeed, they do have effect on the wave and on the timbre. Curve and pulse work similar in both orders, in both circuit orders. You might remember. Okay, and with that said, it's, well, I think it's really time for some sounds again. And now hurry up and visit my website for more. The link is down in the description. Give this video a like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell. And no excuses. All right. Cheers and peace. Rolf.